All right, everyone, let's get started. So my name is Houston, so I'm the chair of YPN. And Ashley, where are you?
Yes, hello
Oh,
everyone.
co-chair of YPN this year. And we have Natalia from Mighty Buildings. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you guys for hosting me.
Yeah, so basically today we're talking about ADUs, which are a very, very hot topic, in real estate lately, especially with cities that are, the city and a state are encouraging, people to build ADUs. So brought in a local company, Mighty Buildings, to talk about how they build ADUs, and they can answer questions about the whole process. So I'll let you take from here, Natalia.
Awesome. So yeah, let's get started. So yes, we are a local company. We are based out of Oakland, California. So we have a factory of approximately like 75,000 square feet in Oakland, and this is our manufacturing facility. So this is where we produce our prefabricated buildings. But I guess what's unique about our approach, and I'll show you the technology, and I'll share later, is that we use 3D printing to manufacture some of these buildings. And our factory is open for tours, so you could actually come see the process, see the machinery, how it works. It's pretty awesome. We as a company were founded back in August 2017. Actually, we are a Y Combinator company. It's one of the biggest accelerators for startups here in the entire country and probably the entire world. We are a Series B company. Up to date, we raised about $70 million in various rounds of funding. So we are well capitalized and, not going anywhere. But we also completed projects throughout the entire state, and I'll show you, examples of those. Important to mention that everything that we do, we certify through the state of California. So our buildings are, pre-approved. The engineering plans are pre-approved by the state. So it makes it easier to, work with the cities and different local jurisdictions. So my agenda for today is briefly touch base on the policy and, why everyone is, excited about ADUs and why the space is, getting hot. Talk about, benefits, like what value ADUs bring to clients. And then I'll show, how we are related to ADU space, and I'll show some of the completed projects. We'll talk about pricing, and I'll show some case studies. And at the end, I'll share how you guys can make, money with, with our company too. So stay tuned. So the main laws and assembly bills, you see the names on the slide. It went into effect back in January, 2020, but what they basically did is that they removed the minimum lot size requirements for ADUs in different jurisdictions, and basically that law unified kind of the major guidelines for the entire state. So it used to be that every city or county had their different laws and crazy setbacks from side property line or rear property line. But right now it's 4 feet away from the back fence and 4 feet away from the side fence, which made a lot of ADU projects possible. One of the biggest things that happened also is eliminating the impact fees, for example, school fees and, parking fees, I think, that usually add up. And in some jurisdictions, like Menlo Park, for example, when you go over like 750 square feet limit, and we have a client with like 1,200 square feet project, this fees could be like in $40,000. And sometimes it can go even higher for some of the cities that are trying to, protect the amount of housing units they want to get built. There was a moratorium placed for the next 5 years on owner occupancy requirement. Basically, if you own investment property, now you could also build ADU, but previously you were required to live on that property in order to build a secondary dwelling unit. So that's gone for the next, 4 years, basically. And all multifamily properties currently can also add ADUs. So if it's a duplex or triplex, up to 2 units could be added. So typically, like, we do need to double check with the city to make sure that, 2 units could be added. But from the property value standpoint and the assessment standpoint, they actually will not be counted as ADUs. It will be additional units added to the property. So, for example, if there are 6 units and 2 ADUs are added, it's going to become an 8-unit property. And the lot coverage requirements were eliminated for units under 800 square feet, which also allowed more projects to become possible. And I like to show this diagram, or I don't know, like kind of a map, how to understand whether ADU could fit a detached ADU. It's 4 feet away from the side property line, 4 feet away from the back. So what is different in every jurisdiction is the minimum separation from the main house. We've seen jurisdictions that this distance is 5 feet, 6 feet, 10 feet, or even 15. So that's something that needs to get checked with each jurisdiction separately. But I mean, in theory, it all sounds great, but there are, multiple things to look out for, like easements, and sometimes they're not shown, on any records, and then we start entitlements process, and then, things come up. Distance from, poles, from, utility poles or like electricity poles, also matter. And while, 4 feet away sounds great, in some jurisdictions, the fire safety requirements are, they overrules the state ADU law. And some jurisdictions like San Jose, for example, we were still required to maintain 5 feet away from the back fence, for example. So those things can still pop up. And, why clients, or people decide to build ADUs. So, 4 main reasons. I mean, obviously increasing livable space. And I get asked a lot, like, what are the needs and like why our clients decide to do projects. So there are actually 3 main categories. And one is space for the parents or kids actually would be moving into the unit. Roughly 30% of all clients, 30% would like to use it just for an additional space in the backyard, like an office or a gym, and just a place to host guests. And the third category is rental units. So a lot of people would like to create a source of passive income. While, all this sounds great, like in any case, the property value would be increased significantly, but it does depend, obviously on the location and on the area, because they're gonna try to find similar projects that happened in the same area from the, assessor standpoint. And we've seen some of the clients, while they had a mortgage, they basically built a unit and rent it out, and they were able to offset that mortgage with the passive income from the new tenant. Yeah, and we have all this, as I said, 3 kind of major brackets, what people use our buildings for. But yeah, some of the specific cases are, pool house, guest house, home office and gym, rental property. What we started doing is actually single family homes. And that might be something we can talk at the Q&A session, and obviously a space for the family. So how we are connected, to ADUs. I want to show you this video that explains our kind of behind the scenes process. So let me make sure I have the audio and do the full screen.
Well, today we're doing our delivery to one of our sites down in Livermore. It's a really exciting day because this is one of our fastest projects to date. The whole project being done in less than 4 months. So right now we're preparing the unit for the load out, which means we're wrapping it up in a protective covering tarp, and putting all the chains and shackles together so we can secure it to the truck, and getting ready to lift it on our big lifting machine here. So that way the truck driver can just back in and we can drop on the load. Once it leaves here, the same hookups are going to stay on the unit. So that way it can use those same connections to be able to use with the crane to pick it up from the truck and put it onto the foundation of the site. As you can tell, it's a pretty big operation at the start where we have a big team together, hooking everything up, making sure the unit's properly loaded up and ready to go. We just delivered the Livermore unit. It's one of the fastest installs we've had to date. It was one of the fastest actual deliveries as well today as well. So it was, of course, about 3 hours. We're really proud of this one. It's definitely been the best one to date.
Yeah, so this unit is a studio. It's 350 square feet. And as my colleague Zane was saying, he's one of our project managers. It took, 4 months from signing the contract to getting the livable space. And I'll show you the after delivery pictures where it looks, prettier. But what's different about our units is that, as I mentioned already, we developed this 3D printing technology where we have this giant machine, we call it Big G, Big Gantry System. So it extrudes this material, which also our company developed, which is called Lightstone material. It's a combination of acrylic photopolymers and minerals. So essentially material is more resilient than concrete. It's more resistant to moisture, water, fire, and other environmental factors. It's been tested for earthquakes. And the UV light cures material instantly, so we don't have to wait for, in comparison to concrete 3D printing technology, we don't have to wait for material to, solidify. And what we do, again, in the factory, this module, the shell of the building gets printed in less than 24 hours, and there is a steel frame at the core of the structure, and total amount of time needed to produce one of the smallest unit is 2 weeks, essentially. So yeah, that's how fast we could, make some of these buildings. And our models, as of right now, they range from 350 square feet up to 1,440 square feet. In that case, that will not be necessarily an ADU. That would be a single family home. So ADUs are capped at 1,200 square feet right now. So what I showed you previously, once the unit was picked up by the crane from the truck, so that's what we call Mighty Mods. It's a modular system. Prefab, inspected in the factory. But something that we are looking at is actually a panelized technology, because and actually a significant amount of sites in California and Bay Area in general, they're hardly accessible. So we developed a product that is brought to the site in panels, and later on it's assembled as a kit into a house. It made a lot of sites actually feasible for deliveries and became one of the kind of most popular products. We get asked a lot about the material itself, has it been tested? And the answer is yes. We worked with UL, which is Underwriters Laboratories, and the material actually is more long-lasting in comparison to wood and concrete. It has great thermal properties and energy efficiency ratings. R value on a 6-inch wall panel with PU foam is actually over 25 in comparison to wood, for example, stick-built structures. Our values are approximately, 13, range from 13 to 18. So we are Title 24 compliant, and, buildings hold up the energy pretty well. And it's fungi and insect resistant, anti-termite basically. And just to give an idea, what material feels like and looks like, it's essentially a synthetic stone. It's very similar to material corian or quartz, which is used, for countertops as well. And when it comes out of the 3D printer, it's layered out, so it's textured. But at the same time, we have robotic arms that could theoretically mill the structure and surface it out, so it's very smooth. But material works well with traditional, construction materials and components, and we could paint it, we could apply stucco, so any elevation, could be customized and created. So currently, we completed projects in mostly in the Bay Area, but we have one in San Diego, one of the first ones in Southern California, where we work with the cities of San Ramon, Oakland, Hayward, Livermore, and we're finishing projects in San Jose, San Leandro, Burlingame, and literally all over the peninsula. We are very excited about the most recent projects, and we're looking forward to possibly, once we can, you know, host the open houses in those locations. But yeah, we get asked a lot, like, how much do those cost? And, you know, give us an example. So I kind of put together some of the case studies. For example, in Hayward, the studio model, the base pricing for the building, including, you know, all the kitchen appliances and bathroom appliances, starts at $115,000 for the unit. But then depending on the site, there are some fees associated with entitling the unit and getting the permits. So let's call it customer compliance, that range from $20,000 to $25,000. And the site work is essentially a foundation, you know, utility connections, labor, crane, you know, some general conditions, truck, and project management fee. So the new space, the new rental unit or an office could be built in, you know, let's say 6 months for $180,000. The faster project, which is the same model, was done in Livermore. That city is just, I guess, less busy or maybe more open, and they're excited to do more projects with us. So yeah, there was also on the lower end, I think we ended up being approximately $190,000, but that's the completed one from the video that I showed. And I also prepared an example of a larger model, which is 700 square feet, the 1 bedroom, 1 bath. You can see a site plan here in the back of their, I think, 3 bedroom house. The total site cost, including the building, were $257,000. The lot size was less than 7,000 square feet. The client is currently renting it out on Airbnb. So very happy. And every month we host, you know, open houses for 2 days. And I mean, I should say appointments on that day. Yeah, every month. What we're super excited about is our ongoing development in Rancho Mirage. And that's just an indication that when developers are thinking about, you know, building a subdivision, they already incorporating ADUs in that space. And the developer is doing 15 single family homes and 15 ADUs. And after we launched the news, it was all pre-sold. So, no. Yeah, and I just summarized like what kind of makes us differentiate from, you know, other companies on the market is, you know, the construction is completed in the factory. So the unit leaves the factory, I mean, fully ready with cabinetry, you know, flooring, appliances. So all needs to get done, you know, after it's dropped onto the foundation is connecting to utility lines and just doing some final touch-ups with GC. And, you know, we hand over the keys. And what makes it fast is that pre-approved plan through factory built housing program that we have. And so we are sort of skipping some kind of engineering plans review. There is only a city architectural review in the very beginning at the planning stage. Yeah, and our technology that we developed is sustainable. And I can kind of dive deep if, you know, we have those questions, but we are saving over 2 tons of carbon emissions on, you know, each 3D printed home that we produce. And another benefit of that is, but that's more for the client side, I guess forgot to mention, is that insurance premiums on our homes, because of the materials we use, are generally, you know, 10% lower. Yeah, and as I said, like what makes us, you know, sustainable and, you know, why we put ourselves next to, you know, companies like Tesla, Impossible Foods, is no one really talks, but, you know, buildings and their construction account for almost 40% of all greenhouse gases, you know, in the world. And, you know, car manufacturing industry actually I mean, it's only 28% and food is approximately 26%, but there has to be a sustainable player. I mean, especially, you know, in the state of California, that is creating, you know, less construction waste than traditionally built homes, and, you know, the green energy and just green company. So we do partner with real estate professionals. We have a referral program that exists, and we've been kind of getting a lot of success with that program since we launched. we are offering a 5% commission on each referral that an agent makes to, our team. We are providing, we have an agreement that we usually sign, but at the same time, we are providing a lot of, marketing materials, providing training. Every week we host, real estate onboarding sessions and different, ADU webinars to, educate folks who work with us. But usually, try before you buy. So we have units available throughout the entire state. As I said, we're based in Oakland and our factory is available for tours and we have models in there. So we're available 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. But in other locations, we have units in LA, Del Mar, and Palm Springs as well. So those are one of our major markets. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But I'm happy to kind of dive deep into any questions about ADUs that you might have.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I mean, you have a lot of information there, but it's really, really put well together and super concise too. So it's easy to understand.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I have a question, and I might have missed this. I'm sorry, I was running a little late. So isn't there some sort of restrictions on the either the lot size of the property and then if you can have one of these or not?
So there used to be requirements, but so I'm not sure if you joined after that, but so what happened in the year, actually last year back in January, so the minimum lot size requirements were removed, but there was and it still is such a thing like a lot coverage requirement, then that you have to occupy less than that amount of space, like a floor area ratio, but it's removed if you build under 800 square feet. So if someone really wants, it should be possible, like as long as there is enough space. And as I was saying, all setbacks were, they try to unify them and add, 4 feet from the back property line and 4 feet from side property line. But what still depends on each jurisdiction is the minimum separation from the main house. So.
Okay. And then, sorry, one more question. That's great. Thank you. And then, do you have any problems with blocking other people? Just because in San Francisco, there seems to be a lot of issues with title on, I worked in title and escrow before, and we would always have issues with blocking other people's views, even if you're not really blocking their view, or just people don't like you putting things that they can see from their windows, and it's just air, light, and space, I guess.
Yeah, so I guess it does depend on the jurisdiction on the property. So yeah, if your property may be going up the hill, there might be this thing might come up. We do have one project in San Francisco, but it's on multifamily property. And I'd say the only issue we run into, because the owner just wants to build additional units, but tenants are making it difficult because there's a lot of coordination that needs to happen. So I think
definitely.
San Francisco, that's probably the bigger problem, because I think they didn't notify tenants that the architect would be coming out, and someone actually reported that there is some person in the backyard, and it almost ended up in the police. So there's
sounds like San Francisco.
Sounds like San Francisco, yeah. So real examples.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're building 2 units there, the 700 square feet, because 2-bedroom, 1 bath, because that's just an optimum size and optimum amount of tenants. So it is on a hill, so it does make it there are more things that we need to consider. But once it's done, I'm happy to share.
Yeah, well, we just have everyone wants a she shed these days, a she shed. That's trending. So yeah. I'm super. I feel like we have so many clients that at least would benefit from hearing from you guys. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, and another thing that might come up in San Francisco is the historical preservation zone. It really depends where in the city the property is located. But what helps with ADUs that, they tend to go in the backyard. They're actually not allowed in the front yard. So there could be arguments made, with the city that, it's not blocking anyone's view, it's in the backyard. No one sees, the modern architecture. there are trees, and things like that. So we're usually taking care of that for clients. So
Thank you.
that should make it simple. Yeah, great question though.
Charlie has a question. Charlie?
Yeah, so I have a couple questions. One regarding how customizable are the units? How many options do you just get to choose between different models, or can you have a little bit of input?
Yeah, this is something we've been working on recently internally. So it's the customization options are mostly internal at this point, because we try to not affect the design and the structural integrity of the building, because that would require going through number of iterations through the state to get it pre-approved again, which not the company's goal. But yeah, it's the wall mounting cabinets, countertops, floor standing cabinetry, all sorts of color options that we provide. Yeah, it's just some examples of the countertops. And the exterior color, we use Ceraclad material, so we could match, the siding of the main house and change different colors. And yeah, there are some other options that, yeah, it could look like stucco, it could be smooth, look like premium concrete. So there are some options that we could achieve, and it goes even further.
And then my other question was regarding just kind of insulation. You had mentioned that it's got a pretty high R value. Is there any insulation in the actual structure after it's printed, or is it basically just the material is the insulation?
Yeah, I'm trying to, give me 1 second. I'm trying to find that slide. It's pretty technical. So the insulation in that mighty mod is in that cavities. So it's not shown on the video because we didn't fill it with the foam.
Okay.
Usually it's filled with PU foam. So that's why, yeah, that insulation, is very high.
Okay. And then my last question is just regarding utilities. Where is electrical and plumbing run? Is there a separation between what's printed and a subfloor type of thing? How's that?
Yeah, if you give me just a couple of seconds. This is just another example of how the unit was dropped and how huge the crane is, but I'm gonna pause here. So all the utilities are on the exterior side. So what I'm pointing at is the electrical panel.
Okay.
And solar inverter, electrical panel, and tankless water heater. And so trenching lies right here. So it's all get connected through this one spot. And this is a hookup for a mini split heating, ventilation, or air conditioning HVAC system. The only penetration into the foundation is the sewer line, but the bathroom is located on that side. So it's pretty close to that edge. So it's already pre-built in the factory. And as I said, the last thing that needs to happen is just connection from here to the main house.
Right.
I hope I answered that.
Yeah, thank you.
I have a question. Are there any financing programs?
So a lot of companies are trying to build specific to ADUs, financing programs, but as of right now, guys, it's traditional options: cash out refinance, home equity line of credit, construction loan, and private money. There is a company called Nova, and we've hosted webinars with them as well. They somehow take your equity and just it's equity sharing model. So there are things like that when someone cannot come up with, not enough, cash or just don't want to move forward. But yeah, mostly traditional financing. But something that was not happening, but I see it starting being true in this year, it's the consideration of the rental income before you apply for the loan. So they never used to take a look into I'm gonna make that much. So, but now there are banks for example, Patelco, like a credit union, they are, you know, taking that into account. At least they're building up the program that would take that into account. And yeah, so, but hopefully, you know, by the end of this year, there will be more companies that would do that, and more banks. And I just show you, I think the biggest, when it comes to financing, what we see a lot is that the client really wants the unit, but they just bought the house like 5 months ago. And I had so many clients like that, and we all get excited. We're just like, yeah, let's do it. And then they try to get applied, and it's like, it's short. And then we're just like, damn. So usually like the best profile of the client is like when they've owned the house for like a couple of years. That's the best time.
Or if like maybe they buy something that's not quite as big as they want for less money, and then they know that they'll have the cash on hand, I guess. I think that that's kind of like the biggest, if it's possible in San Francisco. So what's like the approval, like how quickly can they know, like, because if it's like, I don't know if that would be like written in as a contingency, and that's not necessarily a question for you, but I'm just wondering, like, if our clients wanted to buy a home and it was like with in mind that they'd be purchasing one of these, but like if San Francisco doesn't let them, then it may change the mind if they want to buy that house. So I'm just wondering, like on my end, I guess.
I mean, we do have our, you know, contract. So typically, I mean, we can incorporate contingency like for the financing for you know, any other situations. But we do have a lot of people that they actually contact us, you know, when they get into the escrow, because you don't want to buy the property and then find out that you cannot build, you know, an ADU or even to build a house. So like we have clients that we are like on a timeline, like we need to get the site assessment done. We need to make sure that, you know, it can fit. So, because I've heard some banks could actually add an ADU into that initial loan, into that initial mortgage somehow. So that's, I think, the ideal scenario, because then once it's like done in 4 months, you could refinance again and yeah, just improve the situation, I guess.
Thank you. That's very helpful. And do you guys work with the escrow company? Like, are you coming in contact with them?
We don't work with the escrow company. No, we just work with the client directly, like trying to figure out like what are our options. But we work with financing companies, and we have a list on the website. And we could, I mean, when it comes to financing, we could, get pre-approval within, a couple.
And then do you know if this is counted as, if for resale, if it's counted as warranted space, is it included in square footage? And
yes, it will be included in square footage.
Great.
And it increases the property value.
That's wonderful. Okay.
That's added into the square footage of the house,
Okay.
So,
cool.
I mean, something that I'm kind of still researching, and it's very new space. So the biggest concern is like how ADU is getting assessed. So in some cities, they notice that actually like they not necessarily can add the entire like cost of the ADU that you spent to the added value. But long term, I mean, you'll get there, but maybe not, upfront, because there are a couple of ways they like assess the property, and actually varies from, single family and multifamily properties. Sometimes, I mean, they are required to look at the entire city or whatever the kind of space is and try to find similar, projects and how it affected over time the property value. So let's say like the city of Alameda, for example, have done a lot of ADUs. So the property value would go up significantly. But the city of San Leandro, for example, they don't have a lot of ADUs because unfortunately they're taking, I don't know, almost 6 months to just like get a response from them. So they have not been getting great, assessments on ADUs. So, but also, I mean, we got on the phone last week with like a city official from Alameda. He was very helpful explaining like all the cost structures. And again, I'm still researching, but some of them, they don't want to, you know, participate in any webinars, for example, because they don't want to affiliate themselves with any company. So it's hard to even get the data from them. So.
No, that makes sense. I know the city is, all cities, at least in the Bay Area, are kind of more difficult to work. You know, they're changing things all the time. But I think that this is becoming a very popular trigger word, at least among spires. So the city's going to have to, you know, they're going to have to figure it out. So hopefully it'll help you guys out and us.
And actually your question brought me to another topic, is there, like a lot of people are concerned if they lived in the house for like many, many years and they've been paying like a low tax, property tax on that property. So they are worried that if they build an ADU, their primary home will be reassessed in value. So the answer is actually, I mean, it's not going to trigger a full reassessment up to the market value. So only the cost of the ADU and construction cost of the ADU would be added to that old base that they were charged the tax from. So, you know, if people ask that, because we get that asked a lot. Yeah. That's not, it could be called like a blended tax, basically.
Okay.
So roughly the increase could be only like 1% of the cost of the ADU, like for a period of 1 year. So it's $150 a month for a small studio. So if you're renting it out, like it's gonna cover that. You know,
does it, so I assume these show up, and this might not, like on a preliminary title report, like would it show up on that, like as part of as like another unit, or?
So for, will show up as a secondary dwelling unit.
Okay.
Secondary dwelling unit.
So I assume, okay, yeah.
For single family, but I was saying that multifamily properties could have up to 2 ADUs, and there it's not going to show as a secondary because there are, let's say, 6 units or 4 units. So it's going to show as a unit number 5 and 6. So, I mean, I thought that then assessments and like property values should go significantly up for multifamily properties, because it's like they're going to compare it to like other properties in the area that, you know, have 8 units, which is great. But some cities to reassess, you know, multifamily properties, basically they use not the cost-based approach, but I forgot what it's called. It's income approach. So they're gonna look at like how much rent you're gonna make in that unit. So it's complicated.
So no, totally. No, I appreciate you. You know, this is very helpful. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question about COVID-related delays. Have you guys had any with planning and permitting? Because I know the planning departments have been a complete mess before COVID, and then after COVID, it's even more of a mess. So
we did, and you know, I'm hysterically smiling because, you know, we had all sorts of scenarios. Like the city of Oakland, for example, they lost the digital file. I don't know how it could happen, but that happened. City of San Jose, for a small studio, and we're getting a faster responses of making our plan like a master plan, so it will work for any property in the city of San Jose. We got that approved faster than our actual project. So like the project, I mean, they emailed us a month ago that like apologetically saying that, yeah, we actually like legitimately dropped the ball on your project, but like send us the comments, and then the comments were already addressed. So yeah, there's all sorts of things going on. So a lot of cities were not, I think, prepared digitally at all. But I mean, for some cities it took a year, but they kind of transitioned to digital format, like, and accepting, you know, permits digitally. For example, the city of San Leandro. But Livermore was a great example. Like they processed everything super fast, and we haven't had any delays. And I know that Livermore has a lot of kind of residual land in that area. So some people were requesting about actually just buying land and building a Mighty Buildings home as a primary residence too. But answering your question, Houston, yeah, it's been tough. All right.
Any other questions, last minute questions?
Got a lot.
Do we get a copy of your slides or anything?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
where do I, maybe just the website, which I'm sure they'll send.
Yeah, we do have a lot on the. Oh, actually, yeah, we do have a lot on the website.
Okay.
Just mightybuildings.com. There is even a product brochure. We have it for homeowners, for developers. We even launched some units that could go, you know, over the garage. But yeah, I just didn't want to go into the detail. But something that I opened that again, I think might be interesting for your clients. They could pull like a homeowner's building permit, but I found out that building as an LLC, you could actually write off, you know, a huge expense on your, you know, on your taxes. You know, if you basically build as an LLC. So things like permitting process, like all the soft costs could be like written off, which is, you know, great. It might help, you know, some people to save some cost on their, you know, building an ADU. So just a thought.
All right, well, we have everyone's information, participants, so we can send it over to you, Natalia, and you can follow up there. And I think we also had that raffle too, as well.
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'm gonna.
Okay. So for the lucky attendees, there is a raffle of a special prize. So in keeping with the Wine Down Wednesday theme, it is a bottle of wine. So very enjoyable. And then if you guys have questions about signing up for the Realtor Referral Program, you know, you can ask Natalia about it as well.
So that's the raffle.
Very generous, thank you.
I forgot.
Yeah, we took a screenshot of everyone, you know, who attended, and we can match the information with the signups. So we'll send it over.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. And if you guys have any questions, you know, just feel free to reach out to Natalia. And yeah, thank you very much for presenting. Really appreciate your time tonight.
Come over for a tour. We're here.
Oh, yeah, we can book tours.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys want to make it as a group. I don't know if you kind of
like a YPN event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All know each other, you know, we could maybe do even like a happy hour.
We'll bring the wine.
Yeah, love it. That'd be awesome.
All right. Awesome.
All right.
Yeah, put out my...
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Good to see everyone.